Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Keith. I'm from Cloud Design Box. Welcome to the third in our series of the CDB training series, which today we're going to be looking at coaching students using assignments with a class notebook. So about us, we're Cloud Design Box. We're based on the east coast of England, and we're a team of education teams experts, and we support over 400 schools globally. And within our remit, we deploy Teams, SharePoint, and with that, we add extra value with our unique features. So basically, we make SharePoint much easier for schools and colleges to be able to access and use effectively. We work in primary, secondary, and within colleges, and definitely within maths as well. We specialise in education technology. Founded in 2015, and we've doubled in size each year and continue to grow. We're CPD certified, and also we're Microsoft Global Training Partners as well. So on the call today, I'm Keith, so it's lovely to have you along with us, and also answering questions this afternoon, we've got Tony Phillips, our consultant and director. If you do have any questions, please feel free to open up the Q&A box or the chat box, and please put questions in there as we're going along, and we'll attempt to answer them as we go, or we can save them to the end and answer them then for you. So what we're going to be looking at today, so we're going to actually be using class notebook within an assignment context, if you like. So we're going to go into our class notebook and look at the resource, and we're going to prepare it for distribution within an assignment. We're also going to add a reflect check-in. Now, this is really quite new to Microsoft Teams, so it's just nice to be able to bring this out and show it to you this afternoon. Then we're going to create the assignment, and we're going to attach the class notebook resource and distribute that amongst our students. Then we'll also look at how we can assess the student work in real time using through the assignment page within Teams, but also directly through the class notebook. So we'll actually look at different ways of being able to get into our student work and be able to actively coach and give live feedback. So this could be a project that we're going to be working on, and over a period of time, we just want to be able to guide our students just to make sure that they stay on topic, and the quality of the work that they're going to be sending back to you is going to be very high, and also the fact that it's going to help you come to grade and mark that work as you're going along. So when the project is finally handed in for marking, you've already got a starting point, so there it's going to save you a little bit of time as well. Also within that, as we're sort of working within our projects and we're entering into our class notebooks, we need to be also notify the class as well that some feedback is being given. So again, we can keep the ball rolling with our students so that they can keep on with that assignment, visiting their class notebook, and keep on working with it. Also during this session, we'll just have a quick look at marking the work, and also how that then reflects into the grades tab as well. So towards the please feel free to ask any questions, and again we'll also have a questions session at the end of the session. So we're going to start off in Teams. So I'm logged in here as a teacher. As I was saying, I'm just dropped in as a teacher. I'm working in a history class today, and as you can see, I'm just in the general channel for the class. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is just drop in into the class notebook to start the preparation work prior to actually being shared with my class. So here's my class notebook. I'm just going to drop in, and within that class notebook, I need to go into the work. I'm just going to expand the screen a little bit just so you can see it better. I'm in the collaboration space. However, the material that we're going to be bringing out today is going to be in the content library. So this is actually just a read-only area for students, but for teachers, we get full read-write access in that area. So I can hit the drop-down, and we're working in Elizabethan England today, and I've got the Spanish Armada logbook project. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to raise an assignment. We're actually going to be asking our students to actually create a logbook as if there was either a crew member or an officer within the Spanish Armada, and their ship actually gets carried north post-conflict, where eventually the Armada struck an awful lot of trouble heading up the North Sea and having to flee the English fleet over the north of England. And so, first of all, I'm going to put a reflect in. So this is something that's quite new to Teams, and to put this in, I need to click Class Notebook, and I'm going to put a reflect question in here. Now, reflect is just a really nice way of being able to get a straw poll, if you like, of how your students are actually feeling around a particular topic. And you can either do this within the class environment or within the class notebook. So here we're going to actually put in a predefined question here, which is we're going to ask them if our students are actually happy with the content. So how well do they understand the Spanish Armada logbook project? So that's what's going to be asked of them. So I'm just going to add that check into the page. And that should just come through, and that reflect is now added to the side of the page. So when we actually launch the assignment, first thing that the student will see when they actually come into the actual logbook page at the top there will be that reflect. So it also gives us a handy tip as teachers, just to see how confident our students are going to be to actually complete this piece of work. I'm pretty much happy with that, so I'm going to leave it be, and it's now ready for me to start going into to start producing that assignment. So I'm just going to close the page down, and I'm going to drop into assignments. So to create this assignment, I've got the blue button at the bottom of the page here. Click create. I'm going to click assignment. Assignment needs a title for it to actually work. So to do that, let's just put that in there. Let's see what we've got. And we're going to put a Spanish Armada logbook project in there. I'm not going to bother with a category. However, what I do need to do is put in some instructions. So I need to be able to tell my students what's required of them. Got some pre-made instructions, and we're going to add that in there for them. The next bit that we need to add is our attachment. So we're now going to actually get our assignment to look into the class notebook. We're going to attach a page from the library, and then we're going to then distribute that page out to all of our students into their own individual logbooks. So to do that, we click attach. And from our selection here, we go to class notebook. And we're going to pull from our content library. And today we're working in Elizabethan England. And within that area, we've got our Spanish Armada logbook project. So that's the page that we're going to attach. It will now ask us whereabouts we want to actually distribute this page into our students' logbooks, into our students' class notebook. So I've got by default an assignments area, class notes, handouts, or research. Because this is actually an assignment, we're just going to push this through into my students' assignments area within their class notebook. Once I've done that, I can select done. That is now attaching the page to the assignment. We can then add some points. So how are we going to grade the assignment? So either I can give it my own points, so it could be marks out of 10, marks out of 100, or I can also add a rubric as well if I wish. So we're going to call this, it's a history rubric for this. I hit next. So this is what we're expecting from our students. So we're looking for a bit of creativity from them and some research inaccuracy. And I'm going to evenly distribute the points. So I'm looking sort of for 50% per line on here. Obviously, within the rubric, we've described to our students what excellent looks like, right through to good, fair, and poor. So our students know exactly what's going to be expected of them. I'm going to attach that rubric. It's automatically going to set the points value up to 100 points, obviously, because it's maxed out of 100 for us. And then we're going to look at actually who's going to receive the assignment. So by default, it's going to go through to our history class here, and it's going to go through to all of our students. I can select individual students if I wish in here. However, one thing that won't work is that if you're attaching a notebook page to an assignment, it won't work within a group assignment setting. So it has to either go to individuals or all the students. Beneath that, I need to give it a due date. So because it's a project, there's quite a lot involved with our students here. I'm going to give them a couple of weeks to get the work done. So I want that in by the 4th of November. And we're going to set a reasonable time for it to be submitted by, and we'll say 1700 hours on that day. I'm not going to add the assignment to any of my students' calendars. However, rather than it be posted through into the notifications going to our general channel, I am actually going to post notifications for this through into my Spanish Armada page here. Select done, and that's ready to go. Just quick check through. Yeah, okay. So I've got the instructions in, title's good. My page is ready to go. Dates, times, super. So all I'm going to do now is click assign. So what's happening now in the background is that Microsoft Teams is now going into our class notebook. It's now withdrawing or copying the page, if you like, from our library. Because that is read only to our students, it's now converting that, making a copy to it, and it's now distributing that copy across to all of our students so that they can now go in there and start to enter their own work in onto that page. It takes a second or two for it to spin up. As we can see, let's just drop into the Spanish Armada team channel here. As you can see, the logbook project has come through. So for John, he can view the assignment. But also, if I go through into my student view, so we're in Susan's view here, student of Susan can see that the Armada logbook project has now come through into the channel, and it's now ready for her to start to commence that work. If you just drop back through into the teacher area, I've just got through into the assignments, and as you can see, the Spanish logbook project, and it's there ready and waiting for us to go. Susan can now open up the work. So just drop into Susan's view here. She can go into assignments, and to start off with, she can go in here, Spanish Armada logbook project. She can open it up. She can get to see the rubric that's been set, so she knows exactly what excellence looks like. And then Susan can then enter the page either through her assignment or she can go into her class notebook. So to start off with, I'm just going to go into the class notebook for Susan. Just open that up a sec. Just widen the screen for you. Not only can I get in this through the assignment, but also what I can do is I can go directly in to my student logbooks, student notebooks via the actual class notebook function within Teams. So let me just find Susan's work here. It's in the assignment, and here's our logbook project that she started earlier on. So as we can see, let me just move that across a little bit, close that, that's it, so you can see it a bit better there. So as we can see, this is one that I actually created earlier on this week. Susan's been into it and started to do the work. She completed the reflect area, so she's saying that she's actually quite happy. So she understands the Armada logbook project, so she knows exactly what was required of her. So as a teacher, I've got that nice bit of feedback. I'm thinking, great, she's happy. The pre-work that I've done with her has been adequate for her to be able to start this work. And Susan has now started to add some content. So obviously she's put a map in there. She's put a little bit of a journey or a route that potentially the ship that she's writing about has taken. But she's also started to create that logbook for us. So day one, the 12th of August, so she's actually started to put some content in, and also she's added couple of notes there because she's not overly sure whether or not speeds of measurement are current back in those days as they are used today. So she's got the rest of her diary prepped up. So she's getting on with that work. Now, as a teacher, this is great. I can go in there, have a little look and say, brilliant, nice one, Susan. And I can start to annotate the work. So if you like, I'm starting to actually to start to mark that work as I'm going along. And I can do that in a number of ways. I can either just put some text in there. Well done, keep going. Which is really nice. So I can put a bit of I can put some text in there for her. So I can actually guide and coach her that way. I can also, using the insert button here, I can also put in some emojis. So I don't necessarily need to actually put any text in. So things are looking good here. So I can put a smiley face in, say, yeah, that's brilliant. Or indeed, I can also add some stickers as well. So from that, some of these stickers, you can actually type in some pictures. So let's have one that's pretty positive in here. Well done, this is great. I can add that sticker there. Great, okay, that's gone in. Brilliant. So again, it's just being able to, just ways of being able to give feedback to our students in a live environment. I can then exit out of the notebook if I wish here, and I can just close that down, come back out. Also with this, I can also go in by the assignments page. So two ways of being able to go into that notebook and to be able to actually work our way through our students' work, if I like. So let me just go into the pre-made examples that we did earlier on. So here's Susan. So I can either drop into Susan's work here. This takes me directly to the page in the logbook, so I don't necessarily need to actually open up the school notebook and go in. The reflect is here. It's taking a second to come in. And again, by coming in through the assignments page, it's opened up the class notebook page, and this is the work here. So again, I can now continue to sort of pre-grade it if you like. Let me put a bit of text on there. It's great. Well done. So I'm still adding further content and praise and encouragement to Susan to keep going. But also within the notebook, by coming in through through the assignments, what I can do, I can also use my quick scroll windows here. So let me have a look at another student. So Susan's doing really well. Let me just drop through to Terence here and see how he's getting on. So Terence has done some, he's been in here. The reflect should open up. Terence was doing okay initially, but he's actually stopped. So from here, I can sort of say, well, Terence, he seems to be able to understand what's required of him through the logbook project, through the reflect. However, not an awful lot's happened, and we're a few days into this. So I'm going to sort of say, how are you getting on? Do you need some help to get started? So from here, I can then put some comments in, so Terence may be sort of struggling a little bit with it, just to get the ball rolling. So obviously he understands what's required of him. However, he's still struggling to get going. And at this point, as a teacher, I might need to just give him a little bit of coaching. To come out of it, I can click close, and that then takes us back into the assignments homepage again, and I can then come back out to Teams. Also within this area, because I've actually been going in and out of our students' notebook, our students don't necessarily always know that we've been doing some work in there. So what we can do is we can also mention the team from here, and it's just our history team. And because we work in the Spanish Armada area here, I can say, please check your notebooks Class comments have been added. So we're now actually utilizing the communications areas within Teams. There we go. That's been added. So we're utilizing the communications areas within Teams and being able to put that message out as well into our class to actually notify our students that, yeah, I've been into their class notebooks, I've been looking at their work, and they then probably need to go into that notebook and see what work I've got. Also acts as quite a nice reminder as well for them, so that, like, to try and keep it in the forefront of their mind that they need to keep on going, in this case with their logbook project. So again, just know that I'm in the team. Rather than just drop back into the assignment, I'm just going to drop back into my class notebook and just going to open it up again in here. I'm just going to find Terence, see if he's got any further now that we've reminded him. Quick look. Oh, that's Susan's. Let me just go into Terence. Where are you, my friend? Just at the top here and drop into his assignments area. And no, it still hasn't continued, but that's fine. Hopefully he's got the message now, and then we can carry on with that. So let's just drop back into our student view. This is Susan's, and Susan, as you can see, our message has come through to her, and she's saying that our notebook comments have now been added, and Susan can now drop into her assignment if she wishes, or she can go into her class notebook. She can go to our pre-made example here. She's just going to drop in. And if we were to say that Susan has now completed all the work, so she's done a full, in this case, 31 days worth of logbook entries, when Susan's absolutely happy with that, she can close the page, and then Susan can then hand it in. There we go. So at any time, if Susan's not happy, she can, with an assignment, she can always undo the hand in and call the assignment back. Her Spanish Armada logbook here, and she'd handed the work in as complete. As I was saying, Susan can always click the undo hand in button, and she can then recall the work back prior to it being marked to add further content if she wishes. However, I'm going to leave it at that for the time being, and I'm just going to drop back into my teacher view here. So I'm now in the process of marking. So as we can see, I'm going into the marking screen. There's Susan here. She's ready to go on here. She's put her work in. It's ready for marking, and all I can do is I can either go through, annotate it to suit. I can also put in here, if I'm using a surface with a pen, I can use the pen to put ticks and handwrite comments as well directly onto the page. Because we've got a rubric associated to this, what I can do here is I can drop over onto my history rubric, and it looks pretty good there. So I'm going to hit done, and if I click on the little arrow with the square, I get the drop down. So creativity, absolutely excellent. So she's done really well there. Her research was pretty good. So I'm going to add that and click done. With the rubric, what it will do is it will automatically add up the points and grade it for you, so therefore saving you time because it's all obviously worked out on the percentage. And given her a 4 and a 3 on a 50-50 rubric, that has come out at 87.5 points out of 100. I'm going to give us some feedback. This is excellent. Well done. And I can then return that back to Susan as a completed piece of work. It takes a second for it to go through because it's a notebook page. That's now gone through, and that's now been graded for Susan, and she can go back in and inspect that. I can now toggle across to my next student. In this case, it was Terence here, and we can then go through and then work his mark and grade it accordingly. If I've got no further marking to do, I just click close. That'll then send it back to the beginning again. Because Susan has now been marked, her work drops into the returned area. As we can see, there's our score, and her feedback will then live under this area here. Click back, and that then takes me back to my assignments landing page here. So how does this all tie in at the end? So if I just go back, I'll just close that down. So drop into Teams. And within here, I can go into the Grades tab. And as you can see, here's Susan's work. And here's the Spanish Armada logbook project. She scored 87.5%, which is pretty good. As we can see, these are all our assignments that have been set. And from here, I can either export this to Excel. It gives me an overall class average for a piece of work. But also, if I click on Susan, on her name here, that will then take me through. And I can then individually look at each student's piece of work. And this is the one that has been returned to us. And again, I can always drop in this point and just have a quick look at the work, see how she got on with that. And close that there. Click back. That takes me back to the beginning again. Also, with the reflect element that we've put into the team just at the beginning, anything that we actually raise as a reflect, so whether we put that into a class notebook or we actually reflect, click reflect as a whole for a class, what we do have is a reflect button here, and this will open up, and anything that's been actually generated as reflect, if it's been added to a class notebook, gets the little class, gets the notebook symbol just added to the question here, so we can actually differentiate within the reflect screen just exactly where our reflect check-in was posted initially. We'll just bring that back to the Spanish Armada. That brings us back to the beginning again. So throughout this session today, we've looked at how we can actually create an assignment, but prior to creating that assignment, we've checked our class notebook resource ready for distribution. We added a reflect check-in so that we actually can gauge the confidence of the class to be able to do that piece of work. We then created that assignment and we attached that class notebook resource and distributed it across our class members. While that assignment was live, we then looked at the different ways of how we can actually get in and then coach our students. So we looked at how we can either get in directly in through the class notebook or going in via the assignments page. So we've got two ways of getting in there to look at a student's piece of work. And while we was actually in that class notebook and looking at the project, we also then give some feedback and potentially actively coach those students directly into the page within class notebook. We then used Teams with an individual channel that's been created for the Spanish Armada project. We then gave some feedback. So we looked at how we can get that across to the whole of my class in one go, just to notify the fact that yes, I've been in there, I've done some work, and now my students need to go back into that assignment and to see what's been written so that they can then progress. And to finish off with, we had a very quick look at how we can actually mark and grade a piece of work, and then go into the Grades tab just to see how that sits within Microsoft Teams.
Great, thanks, Keith. So I don't think we've had any other questions, so we'll end it there. Thank you very much for a really interesting session.
Great, thanks ever so much. I hope to speak to you all again soon. Thank you.